Kitty. Look who's here. All our fans are out there.
Well, I finally got it. Actually, I've had it for about a month now. This is the CRKT Triple Play. This is a knife that was designed by Phillip Booth. And I will be honest with you, I have never heard of Phillip Booth until basically I started reading up about this knife. Phillip Booth is, I guess, a pretty famous knife designer, and some of his knives go into thousands of dollars. I was just looking at his, I think it's called the Minnow, and it's a really sweet-looking knife, but it's not $1,000 sweet-looking knife for me. You know, I'm not going to be able to afford something like he made, but he also has developed or designed two knives for CRKT, and this one is the Triple Play. The interesting thing is on the box it does not say Triple Play, it just says the 6925 Booth MultiTool. So if you're buying it, you might either find it listed as the Triple Play or you'll find it as the Booth MultiTool. I got mine out of Smoky Mountain Knife Works. They were like the first place that actually had it, and they go for right around $30 just about anywhere. And so why did I buy this? Well, it's not because it was designed by Phillip Booth, but because, well, it's a bartender's knife, and I collect bartender's knives. And I thought it looked pretty cool. More than one person has said, look at it. It's a big old mustache. Yeah, and it does have that. You got the CRKT logo right there in the middle. And then you got the two little rivets on the end here. These are black Packawood handles. The blade steel is 8CR13 MOV, so I'm more than happy with the blade steel. It's got a clip on the back here. I will probably remove the clip, but I can see why the clip would be there. Because, well, first of all, the people that they're actually marketing this knife to are people who like pocket clips. A lot of them do. Younger crowd, not me. But I can also see why that could be really handy. If you're out picnicking or something, or if you're got a bag or something that you want to, you know, a lunch bag or something, you could actually just snap that right onto the side of the lunch bag. That would be a kind of cool way to do it, or snap it onto something on the inside of your lunch bag, keep it in place so you don't have to have it in a little pouch or anything, which isn't a bad idea. Plus, you could use it as a pocket clip for your pocket. So, number of reasons the pocket clip isn't a bad idea. I'm just not a big fan of pocket clips. This one, obviously, as you can tell, it doesn't get moved around at all, unless you drill holes into the Packawood and move it yourself. I guess you could do that if you wanted to. If anything, I'll probably just take off the pocket clip, unless I decide to just keep the knife as is and snap it onto a belt or something. We'll see. Any case, what do I think of the knife in general for its basic purpose of what it's designed for, which is a bartender's knife? So now I want to stress that the CRKT Triple Play is a bartender's knife, or a style of bartender's knife. It is not a waiter's tool. If you're going to be opening lots of wine bottles or lots of beer bottles, you really should just grab something like this, a waiter's tool. And you see it's got the lever here, and it's got a much longer corkscrew. This is the kind of thing that you're going to use if really what you're just trying to do is open lots of wine bottles. And it's going to have a much smaller clip or little blade for cutting wine labels and stuff like that, and you got your bottle opener there. So that's really something that is purpose built for opening wine bottles and doing a lot of wine bottles. The CRKT Triple Play is a bartender's knife. So it is a knife that is designed so that you can use it to open the occasional bottle of wine or something. It's really based more off of the old sportsman's knives, like the Victorinox Spartan, you know, which was the officer and sportsman knife. And so it has the corkscrew on the back, and it's not the best type of corkscrew for opening lots of wine bottles, but it's going to work if all you need to do is open up a bottle on a picnic. And speaking of which, I mean, Victorinox made a picnic knife that has a proper corkscrew with the lever, and that's the Wine Master. And this is for the serious picnicker or the serious sportsman guy who is going to be opening lots of wine bottles, and he doesn't want to have to deal with a lot of effort or anything. And you see it also has the cap lifter in there and so on and so forth. And it's also got the little label cutter and a proper blade on there if you need to do something like do some serious cutting of sausage and cheese and stuff like that. So, and also this costs like 3 times as much as the CRKT triple play. So definitely a knife that is not in everyone's wheelhouse for just a basic bartender knife. So the knife that I think Phillip Booth is really competing with this triple play is this type of bartender knife. This is by Rough Rider. It was in their Man Knife series, and it is based off of the old Case bartender knife, which was built on a gun stock frame that has, you know, a Spearmaster blade, a secondary pin blade, and then it has a cutting blade for labels. So this is to cut the label or whatever around the edges of a bottle of booze so you can open the bottle easier. And then it has a corkscrew on the back, and it's a basic corkscrew similar to what you have on the Spartan, which I said is fine for pulling the occasional cork out of a bottle. It's going to be a little more difficult to use than what you find on a waiter's tool. But that's what the waiters or the triple play is actually competing with. This knife here and maybe another knife that is out there. So let's go over the triple play now. I mean, I've covered the shortcomings on it pretty thoroughly, but there's a lot of pluses to it. And number one is you've got the cap lifter right there, and it works. It's a good cap lifter, and unlike the other bartender's knife that Case made, there's no cap lifter on this knife, and that's a pity. They should have put a cap lifter on there. They did not need to put the secondary pin blade on there. They should have put a cap lifter there. That would have made more sense. But the way this is shaped, you've got the cap lifter already there. It's already available, and it's in the hand. You can easily open a bottle with it, and yes, it will open a cap. I've tried it. And then you have the corkscrew. The corkscrew is going to work just fine. It's about as long as the one you find on a Victorinox Spartan, if you notice there, because of that little bit of hump there. So they're about the same length when it comes to grip, how much grip is there and how much cork you're going to get in there. And you got a nice handle on the knife to hold that in, so it's going to hold really well. You've got something to pull on. The only fault I have on it is that it does not have any give going in that direction. It only has give in this direction, and that is a problem. It should have give in both directions, in my opinion. I prefer it that way so that you can give a little bit of wobble without having to worry about the corkscrew bending or breaking. And even on this one, you have that give. And that's kind of essential to me. I like the corkscrew to have that give in both directions. As it is, you're going to want to have that give over there a little bit so that if it has to rock that way, it has a little place to go, because you can break it if you're pulling too hard, or it can also bend if you're pulling up. You see, if you're pulling up, you can actually bend that, and then it's not going to drop down flat. So that is a little bit of a flaw. It should have a little bit more give on the backside there. Where it shines, though, is you've got a nice wide belly on the spear blade here. And that's a good blade. It's not the longest blade in the world, about 2.5 inches long. But when you compare it to like the blade on a Spartan, and I like Spartans, it's my favorite Swiss Army knife. You see there, well, it's one of my favorite Swiss Army knives, any of them with a corkscrew. But you can see there, the blade is a little bit shorter, but not too much shorter. but it has got a lot more belly on it, which gives it a little more strength. You can definitely be cutting with it and do some tougher chores around the camp with it. And then it also has a secondary blade over here, which is they say it's a Warncliffe blade, but it has got just an ever so slight curve to it, it looks like. In any case, it's definitely something that you could do some really good draw cutting with and everything else. So I like that blade. This blade on this knife, the way it is designed, I see that as a terrific one for cutting open boxes and stuff like that when you're out camping, which you do have to do occasionally, and it saves this blade over here. And you can also just use it for cutting through things. All sorts of things. I could be cutting through this burlap with no problem with this little blade. So I like that secondary blade there. It replaces the label cutting blade, and it would work as a label cutting blade on a Bartender knife too. So that's pretty cool. So all in all, I'm actually the more I look at it and the more I go over it, the more I'm impressed with it. Like I said, the only shortcoming in my opinion on the knife is the fact that the corkscrew stops right there. There's no give. I wish it had a little bit of overplay, that if it would go a little further back, so that there would be a bit of a wobble on it, because that's the way I like the corkscrew to work. I think it is easier for pulling the cork out of the bottle. But you're talking 8CR13 MOV blade steel, so that's not too bad. It's, at least as good as what you're going to find on a Swiss Army knife or on your case knives, and definitely better than the blade you get on a waiter's tool. But like I said, this is not for pulling tons and tons of bottles, corks one after another. This is, you're out there on a picnic or you're out there camping and you need a corkscrew and you want something to open it with, and you didn't bother to bring a waiter's tool with you. This is going to work for that bottle. And you got a really nice cap lifter, so you can open that 6-pack with no problem. And in the meantime, you've got something that's going to be able to cut up all sorts of sausage. Nice black packwood handles. So it's a nice, solid, durable material that's going to be easy to clean up and everything. So all in all, it's not a bad knife at all. On SMKW, they asked for the number of stars. I gave it 4 out of 5. And the one flaw I would say with it is the little corkscrew there. As far as size-wise, 3 3/4 inches long. So it's not a small knife, and it does have a little bit of heft to it. It would have been nicer if it would have had a clevis on there as well as the pocket clip, but I can also see why a lot of people would not want a clevis. I can see that. This knife is made for the younger crowd who are going to want a pocket clip. And at least I can take off the pocket clip if I want to. Any case, stick around for some slides. I'll compare it to a few other knives. I've got other Bartender knives in the slideshow. But all in all, yeah, for a person who collects these kind of knives, I'm definitely happy I have it in the collection. It is an interesting take, a more modern take on the Bartender knife. But it is still a poor second to a true waiter's tool. So if you're one of those people who really need something in the kitchen that's going to be opening lots of wine and stuff like that, if you've got that book club and you go through like 8 or 9 bottles of wine at your book club, you're going to want a waiter's tool. You're not going to want this. But if you're out on a picnic and you want to open up 1 or 2 bottles of wine, yeah, that's going to do the trick for you. In any case, before we go to slides, I need to also point out that one big thing that everyone's going to want to know about. How's the walk and talk? Well, it really doesn't have any walk and talk. I'll tell you though, the blade, it stays in place. The spring is strong enough, it's going to stay in place. And when you close the knife, the blade stays in place. You got to start it up. You got to pull on it to open it. I would say at that part right there, you got to pull it. That's about 4 or 5, and after that, it's pretty easy to pull it around. But you're going to have to rock it all the way around. It's not one of those things. Look right there. That's about where it starts to close. But the spring is not that long and it's not that strong. So if you're looking for something with a great walk and talk, well, it's got a good closing snap. You hear that? But opening, it locks. And same thing with the little blade. The little blade, you got to pull it all the way around and it will lock. And when you're closing it, kind of lazy, but it locks. It does what it's supposed to do. If you're looking for something with really great action and everything, well, you're going to need to look somewhere else. But that's not what this knife is for. This knife is a functional tool, and it does what it's supposed to do, which is open the occasional bottle of wine, pop open as many bottles of beer as you want to, and you got a cutting blade and another cutting blade. So, yeah. I'm pretty happy with it. It's pretty good for what it's designed to do. I think Phillip Booth did a pretty good job with the design. It's kind of an interesting design, and it's a happy addition to my Bartender knives. This is the closest thing to a Bartender knife. Well, unless you consider the Kershaw Shuffle a Bartender knife, which also has that exposed cap lifter on the backside and a pretty good blade, but there's no corkscrew. So there you go. Maybe that's one of the things it was competing with, but I like the CRKT. The triple play is pretty cool. I'm glad I got it. Yeah, $30, not a bad price either.
let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Pious. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.